Hey everyone, my name's Tom. I'm a developer at Thinkmill and one of the team who was working on the new website. I did a tweet that was talking about all the fun things that we worked on in there, and one of the things I was most proud of was the newsfeed. So I thought we should dive into the code a bit more today and have a look. So let's go. Okay, so as we jump into our Thinkmill website, we have our newsfeed, which covers a whole bunch of different things that we're doing through the community in a whole bunch of different formats and a whole bunch of different shapes. So to handle this, over in VS Code, we have a file called activity, which is one array of many objects. And all of these objects are our different bits of data that we're using on the newsfeed. These are all controlled using TypeScript as a guardrails, and everything is based through this content type. So for each content type in our types file, we have a different set of objects which are controlling all the different things that we want to pass around to each one. We have a shared props, which is given to almost everything that appears in the newsfeed, and that's to keep everything consistent for a base level at least. So as we jump over to our newsfeed, we're then taking all of this data and we're now using multiple data sources in one. So we're going to be taking our written articles, which are in MDX, our case studies, which are all in Astro files, and then that TypeScript file and bringing it all together as one. So for starters, we're going to take our writing with all of our MDX files and we're just going to massage the data and make sure it's in the right shape that matches up with how we're using the activity file. We do the same with the case studies and we're filtering out anything that has a draft prop on it, which is a great way of sort of being able to build things through without including them in the final steps. We're then putting it all together as a single newsfeed array and then sorting it based on the published date, and then we're returning it and passing it through to our newsfeed component. Once we get inside of our newsfeed component, we're starting to reach for a whole bunch of different components that we're using that all will then be passed their data based on their content type. So again, using TypeScript as guardrails, we're filtering down and making sure that we're getting the correct type and giving it the component the correct shape of data that we're expecting. This has got some really, really nice things that make it very nice and maintainable in the long run. By having the guardrails, we have everything based on content type. So if we want to extend that, we add a new content type to the types file, and then we add a new component to render what we have in that shape of that content type. Now this is all really nice, but if we go back over to our newsfeed, we also use this activity feed in multiple areas of the site. So we update that file once and it can appear in multiple sections depending on what type of content it is. And one of those types is using in the open source page, where we have a list of all the talks that we've given that we have links for, and we have links off to YouTube and links off to the video recordings and the talks themselves. So what we're doing, if we jump back over to the code base, is in open source, we're bringing in that entire file and then we're filtering out only the content type of talk. So we're taking all of that, shrinking it down to a single talks object, sorting that based on when it was published, and then rendering it in that page. We do a very similar thing over in our writing page, where again, we're bringing in all of our MDX files of all of the things we've written in-house and we've published on the website, but we also have external articles. So things from other variable places that the team has written or wherever we've hosted them. So a great example of that, so on the writing page, we have our in-house articles that we've written ourselves. We also have things like articles that are written on the Keystone blog, or things that Dinesh has published on his own blog that are talking about things like Keystone. So this is a great way of having a single data source like the activity file being able to be filtered and used across multiple parts of the website. And that's effectively what we've done. So when we add a new piece of content to the activity feed, it could update on 2 or 3 pages of the website, keeping that fresh and keeping it going. And because we're using Astro and everything happens at build time, that's a single update. You push that once to GitHub and it builds, and then it's all there ready to go. So that's how we're using the news feed as a little bit more of an in-depth thing. If you would like to see more of this, let me know. Reach out on Twitter. Yeah, thank you for watching. See ya.